Good morning. Welcome to Gospel Bytes, where we take a bite at the Gospel for the day. Today is Sunday, March 16th. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. Glory to you, O Lord. This is taken from Luke chapter 9, verses 28 to 36. Jesus took Peter, John, and James and went up the mountain to pray. While he was praying, his face changed in appearance, and his clothing became dazzling white. And behold, two men were conversing with him, Moses and Elijah, who appeared in glory and spoke of his exodus that he was going to accomplish in Jerusalem. Peter and his companions had been overcome by sleep, but becoming fully awake, they saw his glory and the two men standing with him. As they were about to part from him, Peter said to Jesus, "Master, it is good that we are here. Let us make 3 tents, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah." But he did not know what he was saying while he was still speaking. A cloud came and cast a shadow over them, and they became frightened when they entered the cloud. Then from the cloud came a voice that said, "This is my chosen son. Listen to him." After the voice had spoken, Jesus was found alone. They fell silent and did not, at that time, tell anyone what they had seen. The Gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ. So in this Gospel about the Transfiguration, we hear the story of Jesus speaking to Moses and Elijah. These were prophets who have lived hundreds of years before Jesus was even born, and yet they were there. I guess this affirms the Catholic teaching on praying for the dead and praying to the saints. No, because they listen to us, we can talk to them. They hear us. And so to think that once a person dies, we can never even imagine, as if they're oblivious of what's happening here on earth, that is not true. The book of Revelation even speaks about the prayers of the saints rising up like incense. Now, also in this story, we see that Jesus took 3 of his apostles on a mountain, Peter, James, and John. These seem to be the 3 best, or the kind of inner circle of Jesus, Peter, James, and John. So when they went up a mountain, there was this huge display of a spectacle before them. And they said, well, let's just stay here. And there was a revelation that this is God, a voice in a cloud, much like an X-File experience, something of the supernatural that made them wanted to stay there. And so it was an unforgettable experience. Now, a few days later, Jesus brought the same 3 companions on another mountain, another hill, in a garden called Gethsemane. And this time there was no more show. There was no show of glory. There was no cloud. There was only darkness. And what did they do? They just slept. There was nothing to see, so they left Jesus alone praying. Sometimes in our spiritual life, we get high when we feel the presence of the Lord, when there is glory, when we see the dancing sun, or an answer to our prayer, or a healing. These are times we should call times of consolation, when God seems to be very near, that He listens to each and every word that we say to Him, and He's always there at our beck and call. These are times of consolation when we are uplifted, and we say, yes, Jesus is Lord, Jesus is alive. But there's a cycle, that this time of consolation doesn't last forever. There will be times when there will be darkness, It seems like God is far away, that we don't see anything, any proof. So we just sleep in our faith, we lax, and we try to face our own fears by ourselves. We're not sure if God is listening anymore. These are times of um, desolation. huh? Desolation when God seems to be very far or even absent. So we all go through this cycle that there are times when we feel consolation, we're happy, God is near. Desolation when we're facing problems and worries, when God seems to be far away. The secret is to remember the times of consolation, uh, the times when God is near. If you have to write them down, if you have to keep them in mind, ask people to remind you, uh, so that when the cycle goes, when it's the time of desolation, we remember the times of consolation. No, now I'm desolate, I'm in trouble, but I remember the time when God has come to my rescue. That memory of consolation will see us through this time of desolation. No, it it, it it's a good way for us even to keep a journal, to even look back and see. Maybe when we realize, when we think that God has forgotten about us, and we go back and say, but I remember the time when I've had a bigger problem, but God was there for me. Uh, we need something to remind us of those times of consolation. It's like a husband and a wife having a fight, and sometimes the wife would say, "Oh, you were never there for me." Yeah, that's always an exaggeration from a wife. It's like, you never listened to me, you never were there for me. And for a husband, he would remember all the good things he's done, which the wife must have forgotten. And that's where conflict starts, because somehow the days, the happy days, the consolation have been forgotten. Uh, And that's why it's important for us to always share the very times when we just receive um, consolations from God. Let's say you receive a healing. Those are the kind of news that we need to spread around. For we don't know, maybe someone is going through this deep darkness of desolation, and that's something he wants to hear. And that would remind him of the consolation that he had from God. So it's very important that we do share about our experiences of God. Do not be um, do not be stingy when you share stories about God, uh, because for all you know, that's just something that someone who has forgotten. That's something that he needs to hear. So never be stingy in your stories. Proclaim the good news. Proclaim the goodness of God in times of consolation and in times of desolation. I'm Father Jerry Sembrano for another edition of Gospel Bites. God bless you. Have a nice day.